When my car broke down, she rolled her eyes in front of strangers and said, "This is why I need a real man, not him." They chuckled. I just called a tow. That night she found out she wasn't riding home with me. You think you know someone 3 years together. You build a life, you make plans, you think you're on the same team, and then in a puff of exhaust fumes on the side of a busy road, you find out you're not even playing the same game. For me, that moment of clarity came last Saturday afternoon. My name is Kevin, I'm 36, and I work in cybersecurity. I don't build things with my hands. I build firewalls. I protect data. My world is logical, precise, and analytical. I'm not a car guy. I can't tell you the difference between a carburetor and a catalytic converter. My car is a tool, a thing that gets me from point A to point B. It's a 5-year-old sedan. Reliable, paid off, and practical. In my world, that's a win. In the world of my now ex-girlfriend Lauren, it was apparently a source of deep personal shame. Lauren, who is 30, lives in a different world. Her world is image, aesthetics, and what other people think. She's a social media manager for a boutique fashion label, and her entire life is curated to look perfect online. I thought her focus on appearances was just part of her job. I never realized it was her entire personality. Last Saturday, we were on our way to a weekend getaway. It was a trip she had been planning for months. A friend of hers was having an engagement party at a fancy winery 2 hours out of the city. For Lauren, this was not just a party. It was a content creation opportunity. She had 3 different outfits packed for a 2-day trip. She had spent the morning talking about which influencers were going to be there and how important it was for us to look like a power couple. I just nodded along, happy that she was excited. About an hour into the drive, on a busy stretch of highway with cars whizzing by, my car started making a noise. A clunking, grinding sound that even a non-car guy like me knew was bad. Then the engine sputtered. The lights on the dashboard lit up like a Christmas tree, and we coasted to a dead stop on the shoulder. I put the hazard lights on and tried to start it again. Nothing. The engine was completely dead. Lauren let out a groan of pure theatrical agony. "Oh my God, Kevin, you've got to be kidding me." Today of all days, I stayed calm. "It's okay," I said, pulling out my phone. "I have roadside assistance. I'll just call a tow." That's when it happened. 2 cars had pulled over behind us, probably thinking we needed help. A couple of guys got out and started walking toward us. They looked like they were on their way to the same kind of event we were, dressed in blazers and expensive-looking shoes. Lauren saw them coming. She got out of the car, slamming the door. She put her hands on her hips and looked at my dead sedan with utter contempt. Then she turned to the approaching strangers, rolled her eyes so hard I'm surprised they didn't fall out of her head, and said in a voice loud enough for them and me to hear clearly, "This is why I need a real man, not him." The 2 guys stopped. They looked at me, then at her, then back at me, and then they chuckled. It wasn't a mean laugh, more of a confused, awkward one, but it was a laugh. They got back in their cars and drove off, leaving me standing there in the middle of her public execution. Something inside me just snapped. It wasn't a loud break, but a quiet, clean fracture. All the little things from the past 3 years suddenly clicked into place. The way she'd make comments about my practical car. The way she'd suggest I buy more expensive clothes. The way she'd subtly put me down in front of her friends. I wasn't her partner. I was an accessory that wasn't living up to her brand's standards. I didn't say a word. I just nodded, pulled out my phone, and made the call. Yes, I need a tow. My car is dead. I gave them the location. Then, while still on the phone with the roadside assistance company, I opened a ride-sharing app. I requested a premium car, the kind she would approve of. A black SUV. Lauren was pacing back and forth, fuming. This is a nightmare. We're going to be so late. My hair is going to be ruined. What are people going to think? I just looked at her, my face a complete blank. The rideshare app pinged. Your driver is 2 minutes away. A sleek black SUV pulled up in front of us. The driver got out and opened the rear door. Lauren let out a sigh of relief. Finally, let's go. She started to get in. No, I said, my voice flat and calm. I put my hand on her arm to stop her. This ride is for me. I took my weekend bag out of the trunk of my dead car. The tow truck for my car will be here in about 20 minutes. You can wait with it if you want. The look on her face was a mixture of confusion and fury. "What are you talking about? We have to go to the party." "No, Lauren," I said, looking her dead in the eye. "You have to go to the party. You need a real man, remember? That's not me. I'm just the guy who calls the tow truck. You can wait here for a real man to come along and fix this for you." I got into the SUV. "Just me," I told the driver. "Take me to this address." I gave him my home address. As the SUV pulled away, I looked in the rearview mirror. Lauren was standing on the side of the highway, assessed, her mouth open, her perfect party outfit looking ridiculous next to my broken-down car. The last thing I saw was her pulling out her phone, probably to start a frantic series of calls. It didn't matter. By the time she figured out a way home, her life was going to look very different. The ride home was the quietest, most peaceful hour I had spent in years. The first thing I did when I walked through the door of my apartment was change the security code on the electronic lock. Then I started packing. Update 1. The silence in my apartment when I got back was profound. For 3 years, it had been filled with the noise of Lauren's life. Her music, her podcasts, her endless phone calls. Now it was just quiet. It was my space again. I didn't waste any time. My mind was working like I was handling a data breach. Identify the vulnerability, isolate it, and remove it from the system. Lauren was the vulnerability. I started in the bedroom closet. Her side was an explosion of color and designer labels, a physical manifestation of a life lived on credit and appearances. I didn't bother with boxes. I just bought a dozen large, heavy-duty contractor bags from the convenience store downstairs. I systematically pulled everything off the hangers and out of the drawers and stuffed it into the bags. Shoes, dresses, jeans, the absurd collection of athleisure wear she never actually worked out in. It all went in. The bathroom was next. It looked like a beauty supply store had thrown up on the counter. Dozens of bottles, jars, and tubes, each promising some kind of miracle. I swept the entire collection into a bag. I didn't care if something broke. It was all just noise. I went through the whole apartment like that. The books she had bought for decoration, but never read. The art prints she had ordered online to make the place look more sophisticated. The throw pillows she had arranged on the couch with military precision. I was erasing her from my life, one bag at a time. It took me less than 2 hours. When I was done, a mountain of black bags stood in my living room. Then I sat down at my computer and started untangling the financial mess. We had a joint credit card which was primarily in my name. I was the primary account holder. She was an authorized user. I had gotten it for her to help her build her credit. She used it for everything. I logged into the account. The balance was staggering. Thousands of dollars spent on clothes, dinners with friends, and a recent spa day that cost more than my monthly car insurance. I paid the entire balance off in full for my personal savings. Then I clicked the button Remove Authorized User. I reported her card as lost. Her access was cut off, effective immediately. Next, I went through our shared streaming accounts, our grocery delivery service, our Amazon Prime account. I logged out all devices and changed every password. The digital infrastructure of her comfortable life, all of which ran on my accounts, was dismantled in under 20 minutes. I was in the middle of changing the Wi-Fi password when my phone started to ring. It was Lauren. I ignored it. It rang again, ignored. Then the text started. A torrent of fury and disbelief. "Kevin, where did you go? I'm still on the side of the road. The tow truck driver won't let me leave with the car. Answer your phone right now. This is the most humiliating experience of my life. I'm calling an Uber. You are going to pay for it. What is wrong with you?" I didn't reply. I just watched the messages pour in, each one confirming that I had made the right decision. There was no apology, no self-awareness, just pure, uncut entitlement. An hour later, I heard a keycard beep at my front door, followed by an error buzz, then another, then frantic buzzing, then the pounding started. "Kevin, open this door. My key isn't working." I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. It was her, her face red and splotchy from crying. Her friend Ashley was with her looking furious. Ashley was her primary enabler, the one who always backed her up no matter how ridiculous she was being. I opened the door but left the security chain on. "What is going on?" Lauren shrieked. "Why did you change the code? And what is all this?" She gestured past me to the pile of black bags in the living room. I didn't change the code, I said calmly. I changed the lock. This is my apartment. And that I said, nodding toward the bags, is your stuff. You're moving out. Ashley stepped forward. You can't just kick her out, Kevin. She lives here. That's illegal. Actually, it's not. I said, my voice is steady. Rock. Lauren is not on the lease. She has never paid $1 of rent. She was a guest and her stay is over. You have 1 hour to load her belongings into your car. I suggest you start now because at the end of that hour, anything left here will be considered abandoned property and will be disposed of. The two of them just stared at me, their jaws practically on the floor. Lawrence seemed to finally realize that this was not a negotiation. My credit card isn't working, she stammered as if that was the most important issue. I tried to pay for the Uber and it was declined. I know, I said. I canceled it. It was my account. You're no longer an authorized user. The rage in her eyes was something to behold. You are a monster. After everything I did for you, I decorated this place. I made it look good. You made it look like your Instagram feed. I corrected her. And now you can take your feed with you. I closed the door, leaving them standing in the hallway. I watched through the peephole as they had a frantic whispered conversation. Then, with Ashley shooting daggers at my door, they started the long, laborious process of hauling the bags down to the parking garage. It was a beautiful sight. The two of them in their fancy party clothes, dragging heavy black trash bags full of designer junk. It took them 5 trips. When they were finally done, Lauren came back to the door. She had one last parting shot. You will be hearing from my lawyer, she said, her voice shaking with rage. Great, I said through the closed door. Have him send a letter. I'll have my lawyer look at it. Goodbye, Lauren. I heard her stomp away. And then, for the first time in 3 years, my home was truly quiet. Update 2. The legal threat was, as I expected, nothing but hot air. But that didn't mean the war was over. In Lauren's world, the battlefield wasn't a courtroom. It was social media and the court of public opinion. A few days after the incident, the first shots were fired. It started with a vague Instagram story from Lauren, a black and white picture of her looking sadly out a window with the caption, "You never truly know someone until they show their true colors." Heartbroken, tafted, narcissistic abuse. Then came the supporting fire from her friends. Ashley posted a long, rambling Facebook status about how some men can't handle strong, successful women, and how they will try to punish them by abandoning them in dangerous situations. She didn't use my name, but it was obvious who she was talking about. The narrative was clear. I was a cruel, abusive monster who had a psychotic break and left my loving girlfriend for dead on the side of a highway. The story started to spread through our wider social circle. I got a few texts from people asking if I was okay, their tone implying that they had heard I was the one with the problem. I knew that engaging them on their turf would be a mistake. Arguing on social media is like wrestling with a pig in the mud. You both get dirty and the pig likes it. I needed a different strategy. My weapon wasn't emotion. It was facts and precision. I thought about the incident on the highway. The 2 guys who had chuckled and driven off. It was a long shot that I had gotten a partial look at their license plate as they left. I'm good with details. It's my job. I have a friend who works in a field where he has access to certain databases. Nothing illegal, but he's good at finding information. I gave him the partial plate number, the make and model of the car, and the time and location of the incident. I asked him if he could possibly identify the owner. I told him it was related to a personal dispute, and I just needed to ask the person a question. 2 days later, he sent me a name and a phone number. The car was registered to a guy named David who lived in a town near the winery. I took a deep breath and made the call. "Hello, is this David?" I asked when he answered. "Yeah, who's this?" "My name is Kevin. This is going to sound very strange, but I think you witnessed an incident with me on the highway last Saturday. My car broke down and you and a friend pulled over." There was a pause. "Oh man. Yeah, I remember that. Your girlfriend was really angry. That's one word for it." I said, "Look, the reason I'm calling is that she's now telling people that I abandoned her and that I was the one causing the problem. I was wondering if you would be willing to just state what you saw and heard." He laughed. "Dude, I heard it all. She totally threw you under the bus. She said something like, "This is why I need a real man. My buddy and I were talking about it all the way to the party. We felt bad for you, man. That was rough." Bingo! Would you be willing to write that down in an email to me? I asked. Just a short, simple statement of what you witnessed. "Yeah, no problem," he said. "What she did was messed up. I'll send it over in a bit." An hour later I had it. A clear, concise statement from an impartial third-party witness detailing Lauren's exact words and her dismissive behavior. It was the digital equivalent of a nuclear bomb. I didn't post it publicly. That wasn't my style. I just sent it to one person, Lauren's boss. Lauren worked for a small exclusive fashion label. The owner, a woman named Cassandra, was all about female empowerment and brand integrity. She had built her company on a carefully crafted image of authenticity and supporting women. I drafted a very professional email. "Dear Miss Montgomery, my name is Kevin. Until recently, I was the long-term partner of your social media manager, Lauren. I am writing to you because a personal matter has unfortunately spilled over into a public domain in a way that could potentially affect your brand's reputation. Lauren is currently running a social media campaign alleging that I was abusive and that I abandoned her. This is false. The truth is, I ended our relationship after she publicly humiliated me in a deeply disrespectful way. I have attached a signed statement from an independent witness who observed the entire incident. I have no desire to make this a public issue. However, I will not stand by and allow my character to be defamed. Given that Lauren is using her professional platform and skills to spread these lies, I felt it was important for you to have the actual facts. I trust that you will handle this matter with the discretion it deserves." I attached the witness statement and hit send. Then I waited. The fallout was swift and silent. Within 24 hours, Lauren's Instagram story was deleted. Ashley's Facebook post vanished. All the vague, accusatory posts from her friends disappeared from the internet. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that there had been an emergency meeting at Lauren's work. Cassandra was apparently furious, not just about the lie, but about the hypocrisy. Mocking her partner for not being a real man was not exactly on brand for a company built on female empowerment. Lauren wasn't fired, but she was put on a very short leash. Her social media, both personal and professional, was now under strict supervision. Her little whisper campaign was over. She had tried to use her greatest weapon against me, and I had turned it back on her with a single, irrefutable fact. Final update. It's been about 5 months since my car broke down and my life blew up. The quiet that settled in my apartment that first night has become my new normal, and I've never been more grateful for it. The drama with Lauren died a quick death after I sent that email to her boss. The threat of a verified third-party witness telling the world what she really said was enough to silence her completely. The entitlement was still there, I'm sure, but it was now suppressed by a healthy dose of fear for her job. Her life, from what I've heard, has become a shadow of what it once was. The biggest blow came about a month after the breakup. My old sedan, the source of her humiliation. I had it towed to a trusted mechanic. It turned out to be a simple, inexpensive fix, a faulty fuel pump. I had it repaired, detailed, and then I sold it in a private sale. I used that money, plus a good chunk of my own savings, and bought myself a new car. Not a flashy sports car, but a brand new top-of-the-line SUV. The kind of car she always dreamed of being seen in. It's safe, it's reliable, and it's all mine. I didn't buy it despite her, but I have to admit there's a certain poetic justice to it. Lauren, on the other hand, is now driving a 10-year-old compact car that her parents helped her buy. Without my income to support her lifestyle, she had to move out of the apartment she was subletting from Ashley and into a small studio in a less desirable part of town. The designer clothes and spa days are a thing of the past. She's living for the first time within her own means, and she is apparently miserable. Her friends like Ashley have mostly drifted away. They were friends with her lifestyle, not with her. When the parties, the expensive dinners, and the weekend getaways stopped, so did their loyalty. She built her social life on a foundation of sand, and it washed away as soon as the tide went out. I ran into her once. It was about a month ago at a grocery store. I was in the checkout line, and she was a few people behind me. She looked tired and stressed. The carefully curated Instagram polish was gone. She was just a normal person looking at the price of avocados with a worried expression. She saw me and her face went pale. She immediately abandoned her cart and walked out of the store. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt nothing at all. She was just a stranger who had taught me a valuable lesson. The ultimate revenge wasn't leaving her on the side of the road. It wasn't packing her things in trash bags or canceling her credit card. It was simply removing myself from her life. I was the platform that allowed her to live her curated artificial existence. When I removed that platform, her entire world collapsed under its own weight. She called me less of a man because I couldn't fix a car with my bare hands. But a real man, I've learned, isn't the grease on his hands. He's defined by his self-respect. He's defined by his refusal to be a stepping stone for someone else's vanity. He's defined by his ability to walk away from a situation that is beneath him. I'm dating someone new now. Her name is Sarah. She's an architect. The other day, we were driving in my new SUV and she asked me if I knew anything about cars. I laughed and said, "Absolutely not. I have a good mechanic and that's all I need to know." She smiled and said, "Good. I'd be worried if you did. I prefer a man who is smart enough to delegate." And in that simple sentence, I understood the difference between a partner and a parasite. Lauren wanted a man who could fix her problems. Sarah wanted a man who could build a life with her. I finally have that. And it's a life that is real all the way down to the foundation.